Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Hey guys, you know what I've talked about? I've talked about racial profiling. I've spoken about how people take the liberties with people. Well, it has happened. It has happened in my family. I'm honored to be here with my little sister, Dr. Lindia Jacobo. Thank you for being on Politics Done Right, sis.
Thank you, hermano. Always a pleasure.
Hey, well, look, let me tell you, what happened to you in the store has happened to me over and over again. And many times a lot of people who watch the show would say, well, why don't you do something about it right away? And, you know, I've always stood up for myself, but now do more. I was ecstatic when I got a text from you describing what has happened. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am your sister, your lovely sister. And yeah, I happen to be, I am the mother of two kids. I am a wife, I'm a sibling, a sister. And I happen to also be a doctor. I'm a pediatrician, and over the years, I've done a whole lot of things in my career. And I think a lot of what I've ultimately done has really been informed by a lot of my own lived experiences, including what I wrote to you in the complaint I filed with the Better Business Bureau. And what I mean by that is I'm currently one of the deans at a school in Los Angeles. I do a lot of teaching, and a lot of my teaching is focused on, teaching students, teaching staff and faculty to kind of reframe how they engage, how they see the world, primarily through an anti-racist lens, right? And that's really, really hard to do because, I think racism is so deeply embedded in the foundations of everything we do. And I think it impacts our lives day to day. So, that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
Well, explain to me what happened. First of all, I want you to give me the name of the store and what happened at that store, because I think it's not only about training, it's about common sense and empathy. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so this store is Roadrunner in San Diego, and just a little bit more about context. I think for me, not that what happened in the store was in any way surprising because it happened in that store, but it's happened in many, many other stores. But the context for this store is that we've historically, I think as a family, gone to that store a whole lot, right? As you know, I've run for many, many years, and so we've always
do a lot of marathons,
a lot of
with Arturo and
exactly,
the
and both kids, right, Natalita and Arturito, and we've always done running. We do an annual 5K as a family every year. So the point is that we've gone to that store many, many times in the past, from the time the kids were little, and I think the reason I reflected on it so deeply is this was in that store the first time I've had that experience. So I entered the store. It wasn't that full because the store had only been open for about 20 minutes. Got to the store and just kind of started trying to find some gear. It was primarily trying to find a few additional Christmas gifts for the kids, for Arturo. And this young woman, as I wrote in the complaint, came up to me and initially seemed reasonably friendly, asked if I needed help. And I said, thank you, no, I don't need help. And I just kept looking, went from the male section to the female section, et cetera, and kept going back and forth because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to select out at the time. And as I wrote in that complaint, within the span literally of 3 minutes, and I think I'm being pretty generous, it may have been less than 3 minutes, she approaches me again and asks the exact same question, can I help you with anything? And I thought, no. I thanked her again. And I said, look, if I need help, I will be sure to reach out. Again, the store's not that big,
and
so I know I can find her.
For anybody who needs to know my sister is as passive as can be when she's talking to folks. Don't mess with her kids, though. But as passive,
right, exactly,
as passive as can be, and very friendly.
Very low key. Again, the tone that I may be speaking a little bit more loudly than I was speaking to her. It was just very calm. If I need you, I will come and find you. And again, I feel like I almost have that language scripted because as we've shared over the years, these sorts of things just happen over and over and over again, right? So my language is almost scripted. If I need you, I will come and find you. Thank you so much. Kept going back and forth. And then I had a whole bunch of items in my left hand. I was holding it like this, and I was texting Natalita because I was trying to get Arturo's size to make sure I had bought the right size. And right as I was doing that, this part I didn't put explicitly in the complaint, but she almost ran up to me and said, "Are you ready to check out?" And I looked at her and I thought, oh my goodness, you are with me again. And I said to her in exactly this tone, I said, you know what? I would really, really appreciate it if you would stop following me around the store. I said, every step of the way, I said, I seem to be the only person you have an interest in. I said, it really makes shopping kind of uncomfortable. And she said, well, I am doing my job. And as I wrote in the complaint, it was puzzling. And the more I reflected on it, the more those words resonated for me. I'm doing my job. She never said, oh, I'm not following you around the store. She didn't say that, right? She said she was doing her job. And as I looked around the store, I thought, oh, you are right. In my head, I said this. I didn't say this to her. I finally just checked out. I thought, you're right. You are doing your job. You're trained to do this. The other piece I didn't put in that complaint. Again, I was limited to a certain number of characters, right? The other piece I didn't put in there is a manager-looking person, about a 6'5" white guy, said to her as I was in dialogue with her, is there something I can help you with?
Who
to Jessica, the employee.
Oh, as if you were a danger to her.
Exactly. So I now in a position for me, and again, not overly dramatic, as you know, I don't emote a lot and I don't get that worked up. But in my head, I thought, oh, this is so coded. I better get out of these people's store. That really was my next step. And my only regret, frankly, is I should have left the merchandise there. But it was one of those things that were moving reasonably quickly. And there were things that I really, really wanted to get for, again, for the kids, for Arturo, etc. So in that moment, and again, let me also provide additional context. We are what's called VIP members at the store. That's how long we've been with the store.
Right.
We pay a fee, right? It's like any other store. That's just the language they use. It's nothing extraordinary. But we have, this. So again, it just goes to show, why would I have a membership in a store that I don't frequent, a store? So it was all of that together. And my drive home was, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. And I kept reflecting and I kept thinking, wow, even at the age of 58, obviously this thing is on my mind. So I'm going to act on it. And the only thing I knew how to do, because I certainly couldn't ask for a manager, right? Because I think that guy was the manager.
Yeah,
and he was not interested in my story. Yeah. He wanted to help her.
Because you were a threat to her, his employee.
Yeah. And so, and let me also add, and this has nothing to do with this story, but for additional context in terms of my own mindset, I was recently in my apartment in Pasadena. I'm currently in San Diego, but I was standing at the elevator waiting to go in to get up to my 5th floor apartment. And as I was standing there, coming from work, all my stuff, this woman comes out of the elevator and screams.
What do you mean screams?
She screams out loud. And this was on the 2nd level where I park. The P2 level is our assigned parking. So typically people would expect somebody to be at the elevator because we're always coming out of our cars in the garage and going up, right? It's pretty standard. And she screamed and I looked back because I thought, oh my goodness, I wonder what's happening behind me in the parking lot. This is a true story. This happened 3 weeks ago. So you have to understand my mindset about these things, right? And I looked back and I looked at her and I must have looked puzzled. And she said to me, and I quote, "You scared me." And I said,
wait, stop, Lindia. My sister is about 5'2", maybe.
I'm 5'2", maybe 5'3", with a pair
and
of heels.
petite as hell.
Yes, I had a backpack on, my lunchbox, and I was professionally attired
In other
because I
words,
was
with your
coming
doctor,
from
with your
work.
doctor
Correct. It
equipment,
was
yeah.
very clear. I think that day I had done a video for the school, and so I think I may have even been wearing a black suit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I said to her, I looked at her and I said, "So being present in front of an elevator to go to my apartment was scary to you?" And she rolled her eyes and left the elevator area. And when I went upstairs, I think Arturo was the only person there at the time, but I shared that story with him. And later on, when Natalita came home, I shared it with her. And it was really kind of surreal, right? Because the the implicit messaging wasn't that I really scared her. It was that her expectation of who belonged in the building
Right.
was different. We didn't, my physical being, my body didn't match her expectations of what a person waiting for an elevator should look like. And I know many may argue that we, because I've heard this repeatedly, make much of these things. And I will tell you, especially in the kind of work that I do the opposite of making much of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But these stories are important to tell, right? Because at some point, you have to think about the potential of endangerment to us.
Exactly.
Right? Because her screaming, it's her and I, right? And her screaming for no clear reason was bizarre, right? This young woman, again, these dots all connect, right? These aren't
right.
separate things.
Right.
These are one thing, right? It's one thing, right? And the problem is that it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't dangerous.
Right.
It's actually dangerous. This is a story that we need to tell and retell because there's a danger in the stories, right? And I don't think folks who claim that Black folks are sensitive and this and that, and can't you give people grace and benefit of the doubt, I don't think these people really have a deep enough understanding of the danger people who look like me and you
right.
are sometimes in, depending on circumstance. Sometimes it's just sort of kind of hilarious, like, he, this happened. But when you reflect more deeply, you think, wow, these things can go one way or the other.
Somebody coming back next, you're the first person in front of her. They think that she screams because something
I did something
done, and then they jump on you or they shoot you or whatever.
Who am I to debate, right?
Right.
In the store, which manager do I get the privilege of engaging with?
Of complaining.
None.
Because he came to her rescue.
And he came to his employees' rescue.
Right.
Correct. Right.
And my next thing is with you is concerning even at the elevator. All right. Look, I actually for all the phobias that I've had in my life, what I've spoke to people about is overcoming them. Some of them have been, I've had to atone for them for whatever phobia I had. But the one thing about it that I've done is when it's my fault, I can then say, oh, I am sorry. I 100%. Have to teach myself something.
100%.
This woman looks at you after screwing up in her thoughts.
Correct.
And rolling her eyes as if you had something to be
Correct.
to
Correct.
be concerned, guilty
Correct.
about, or whatever.
Correct. It's the same playbook, right? Like if you were to map it out, it's one playbook, right? You blame the person you victimize. Sometimes it's by way of tears, right? There's the shedding of all the tears, or the, oh my goodness, you scared me.
Right.
And to your point, maybe she did have negative experiences with people who look like me. Maybe she doesn't like short people, people with lunch boxes, whatever. That's fine. The appropriate response, though, is, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Because if anything,
Exactly.
she scared me. Because
Right.
I was wondering, remember, this is an area that is, so it's a garage, it's 2 levels.
Right.
Our assigned level is on P2, and it's a glass encasement where the elevator is. So the reason I looked back is I didn't know if she saw something happening
Right.
in the parking lot. So my looking back was genuine, right? Because I
She
could never
screamed.
have, yes, I couldn't have fathomed that
Right.
her scream had anything to do with me. So then I look back, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what is she witnessing? But she was witnessing my presence.
Wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me tell you something, Lindia. The reason I begged you, and
Yeah.
folks, all of you that are listening, let me tell you what my sister told me when I said, hey, we've got to do this video for my show today. She said, but Bertha, I am not camera ready. I'm like,
I'm not.
girl,
Look at what I'm wearing. I just got
you
back
are
from
always
Milan.
camera ready. You're this beautiful, petite little sister
You're
of
way too
mine,
kind.
but I mean, so I told you straight up, you're always camera ready for this thing here. But look, I think this, fun and joke aside, even though what I just said was true, I really needed to hear this story, and my audience
Yeah.
really needs to hear this story. And global and worldwide, we need to be telling these stories and have somebody who can articulate the stories in the manner in which you do it. No hesitation, no anger, just point of fact. I think that is so important, and I want to thank you so kindly, Lindia. Jacobo, muchísimas gracias por estar.
Gracias, hermano. I am, and this is my brother. I'm proud of my brother.
Muchas gracias, corazón.
Hermano. Bye bye.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.